Welcome back to the Backlog Boys podcast at the cinema. With you, as always, the Greco-Roman wrestler himself, Samuel.
Hey, what's up? Actually, I'm the WCW champion, if you didn't know.
Which one? David Arquette?
Ric Flair.
Oh, boo.
Yeah.
That's not a good thing.
David Arquette, a singer.
An actor. I won't pretend like you didn't say that.
Oh wait, yeah, he's from
Scream.
Scream, yeah.
And speaking of Dewey over here, Alexander.
Hey, I'm Dewey, the best one of the Ducktail Ducks.
Yeah.
Ducktail Ducks.
Yeah.
The Ducktail Ducks.
This is going to be a good episode. I feel it in my bones. And there's me, freestyle wrestling. That was going to be yours, but you ruined it.
What were you going to be then?
I don't know. I was going to be like the manager, towel boy.
Coach.
Omar.
Coach Omar.
Yeah. I would have been the guy blowing the towel on your face.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
me, the support character.
That blowing me.
Anyways. We couldn't tell already. We're talking about Foxcatcher, the movie.
Stop looking at my hole.
That we're not gonna explain. We'll leave it to interpretation. On that one. Like we're a Christopher Nolan movie or something.
Yeah. Anyways, Foxcatcher, the 2014 movie. Omar, you got some information to tell us about this movie, don't you?
I have a
lot.
I have two facts and stats section. This is gonna be the pre-spoilers and post-spoilers.
Oh my
The
god.
pre-spoilers is very little, to be honest.
Okay.
But directed by Bennett Miller. I don't know. I doubt you've seen any of his movies.
No,
else
he
have you
did.
done?
I
Moneyball.
quickly looked him up. Yeah, he did
I
Moneyball.
love Moneyball. I don't know if it's on the list or not, but we're gonna add it at some point.
Really quickly, side tangent. Why hasn't he done anything since this movie?
He's working on a documentary.
Oh,
He's
okay.
working on a documentary since.
Huh.
Because he made a that's why he started making movies. He made a documentary. Then he's only made like 3 movies.
Yeah.
Capitalo, Moneyball, and then this.
Yeah.
Are those also biopics?
Yeah, most of them are like not like literal. Like the way how this is, that's how like his Moneyball is like that, and Capitalo is I believe like that as well.
Okay.
Okay.
But this movie was nominated for 5 Oscars: Best Director, Best Actor for Steve Carell, Best Supporting Actor Mark Ruffalo, Original Screenplay, Makeup and Hairstyling.
What did it win?
None.
Oh, okay.
Really?
And I'm interested to bring up the what award, who won those awards.
Okay.
I won't list every candidate except for the movies, so because I just want to like
Yeah, the
have a
ones that won.
flashback in time.
Yeah.
For the year, I'll always say the nominees. I'll let you guess who won if you remember. The nominees for best movie that year: American Sniper, Boyhood, Grand Budapest Hotel, Selma, The Imitation Game, Theory of Everything, Whiplash.
For Best Picture?
Yes.
American Sniper.
I mean, I would have liked Grand Budapest, but something tells me it'd probably be Boyhood or what was that last one? Imitation Game, maybe? Or Selma.
I'm in between American Sniper and Imitation Game.
Birdman.
Stuff.
You didn't say Birdman?
Yeah.
Yeah, I did.
Oh, I didn't
Did
pay
you
attention.
really?
Yes.
Once I heard once I heard what I thought it was, I just immediately stopped listening.
I didn't hear.
Actually,
Birdman.
I hear
Birdman
you.
was really good though. Have you seen that one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I watched it I think a year after it came out as well.
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah, that one, and that also won director, Alejandro G. Inarritu.
Inarritu, yeah.
Eddie Raymond won actor for Theory of Everything, where he plays Stephen Hawking.
Yeah.
I've seen that one.
What's up with that, by the way? Just people winning the Best Actor award for just being someone like. Usually, if there's a biopic, they're gonna win. Like,
Because it's like all
didn't Rami Malek win for?
Queen,
Freddie
Yeah.
Mercury.
Freddie Mercury. I
Yeah.
can't confirm or deny that.
I'm pretty sure he won that
But I
because
can't
of it.
deny that.
I mean, it wasn't bad.
It's not bad, but I don't know. It just seems like kind of like a cheat code. Like,
Because it's like because you have the most material, you don't have to make up anything technically.
I mean, Will
But it's
Smith just
also-
won the Best Actor for King Richard.
Andrew Garfield was robbed.
He
But
was
also, I mean, at least for this, like playing Stephen Hawking must be difficult as fuck. Because you have to like, we're done talking about this. I'll sit down the list real quick.
Oh, more go on. Come on.
No, because I know what he's gonna say. I can tell. You didn't see his face.
I had a little devilish
Yeah, I know
smirk.
what he's gonna say. Anyways, J.K. Simmons won supporting actor for Whiplash.
Yeah, that was a really good movie.
Birdman won original screenplay, and Grand Budapest Hotel won makeup and hairstyling. So
Well deserved.
And I think this movie was also like the first movie in a long time that's like it won. It was nominated for best director, but not best film.
Oh,
Because usually that never happens. Same thing with like best actor.
yeah.
Like, those movies usually are for also part of best film, but Steve Carell wasn't. Obviously, that movie wasn't in. But the box office budget 24 million.
Okay.
Double that to be 48. The box office 19.2 million.
Yeah, that makes sense.
12.1 USA and 7.1 worldwide.
Yeah, that makes
Understandable.
a lot of
There's
sense.
no way I can't imagine worldwide unless you're just really into this and you know it. Like or you just happen to find
I
it.
feel like
Yeah.
usually biopics do less than like big blockbuster.
So, unless you like
movies.
care about
Yeah.
the thing.
Yeah, and especially because like this is about Greco-Roman wrestling. Like it's not super popular, you know.
Yeah, it's not like the
Yeah.
and like
Eh,
Olympics as well, like in the 80s, like 80s, 90s kind of thing. So it's also
Yeah.
like older too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
You can't even be like, oh yeah, like unless you're alive during them.
Yeah, most of the people our age probably don't know who this is.
yeah,
Yeah, like I didn't know anything about this when
Yeah.
I watched it originally.
Mhm.
So like imagine like people as it came out, like unless you were like alive during those times and you knew about it, like
Mhm.
that, or you're just a big fan of these actors, you're probably not gonna watch this movie.
Or you're
Yeah.
a big wrestling fan.
Yeah, like real life, right? Like not,
Yeah,
even, not
yeah.
even like a fucking R wrestling, like WWE and stuff.
Oh, that's
like
fake wrestling.
scripted wrestling.
It's still real to me, damn it.
It's real
But,
to you, not real to real life.
Yeah,
This movie, I was the one who recommended it. I did watch it beforehand. I watched it a year after it came out, and after I was like, yes, I love this. That's why I nominated.
What year did it come out?
2014.
Okay.
I think I watched it 2015 because like the film release was like pretty limited. It wasn't that much. Like it was like released for like 6 theaters for like a couple of days, and then it was finally released worldwide. And it wasn't obviously not that popular, and I never heard of it until way after.
Mm.
But so the summary of this movie, basically about Mark Schultz and his brother David Schultz, but mostly about Mark, where he's training for the Olympics of '88, and the Team Foxcatcher owned by John DuPont, and him recruiting Mark to join, maybe even join, like kind of create Foxcatcher with him being the main guy, and then kind of what happened during those training years. That wasn't even a year exactly. This movie, I think, it's just a year, really. 'Cause I think it's 87 to 88.
Well,
yeah.
the movie takes it in a year. In real life, it was.
It was long. Yeah,
yeah.
I'll talk about
Yeah.
more about that later. Like what the difference is, what real life compared to what the movie says.
Yeah.
Because there are some big differences.
Yeah.
But that's kind of just the basic plot of the movie. Mark Ruffalo is the older brother. Channing Tatum is the main brother, and then as these guys mentioned earlier, Steve Carell,
Michael Scott
aka
himself.
Michael Scott,
Yeah.
plays John DuPont.
I will say, Mark Ruffalo, I did not realize it was him until like I Googled the movie after. He was unrecognizable.
Yeah. I mean, like I kind of recognize his voice, but he totally does not look normal. at
No,
all.
like not even his voice. Like he was not Mark Ruffalo in this movie.
Yeah, and these actors really bulked up for this movie. Like Mark Ruffalo was like cut.
Oh,
like,
He
was-
gained weight
he was
for this movie.
jacked.
yeah, and so did I was gonna mention this, but I think this is a consistent theme we're gonna have in this show, where this is the first movie that I've seen a certain actor in. Like, I forget what the last one was, but this time I think this is the first Channing Tatum movie I've ever seen.
You've never seen another Channing Tatum movie.
I don't think
Really?
Sam, you seem like someone that would be really into Magic Mike.
so. I
Have
haven't
you ever
seen
seen
that.
21 Jump Street?
No, I haven't.
22, obviously.
No,
Lego movie.
no.
You know he's in it for like 5 seconds. He's barely in
Oh,
it.
he's in it though.
Yeah, he's in there. For
You haven't seen
He's barely in it.
Dog?
No,
Yeah, world-renowned movie. Dog.
Dog. Everyone's favorite movie.
I feel like I think I've seen movies of him. I just can't think of them top of my head.
Yeah.
First one that comes to mind is 21 Jump Street.
Yeah, I
22.
just haven't.
I would see Magic
seen
Mike,
that one.
XL.
I haven't seen that one.
Pretty cool.
But the thing is, like, this one puts him into such an echelon where I kind of don't want to see those other movies because, like, those other movies I feel like wouldn't hold up to this one.
His acting performance in this is like one of his best ever.
Yeah,
Honestly, like the way he got into this role is like you really believe that it's like he's an actor. They do know both Mark Ruffalo and Dave. They did train. I call him Dave. Sorry, because Mark is the real life character.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
call him Mark Ruffalo. I mean, Dave, Channing Tatum, Mark Ruffalo. They really train. Like they know how to actually wrestle. It took months to train.
Yeah.
And they would train and then do the movie like right after training. So they're just fucking just constant work.
yeah.
And you can easily tell.
Oh yeah,
There's wrestling scenes and they're actually doing it themselves.
yeah. Like a lesser movie would just like show them training, but it wouldn't show them wrestling, or it would never show their faces when they're wrestling.
Like a zoom out.
Yeah.
shot.
Yeah, exactly.
doubles.
But no, they have close up personal shots of
Yeah.
these wrestling scenes, and they're really, really interesting to watch.
Some of the training things were like you feel like they really like they know exactly what they're talking about, what they're doing.
Mhm.
Especially Mark Ruffalo's Dave's character,
Yeah.
because he's like the man. We kind of makes him like he's way older. He's only a year older than his brother.
Oh, he
They're
looks
1
like
year apart.
he looks like 37.
It's funny. I think like the actors are like 13 years apart.
Okay.
And they look like the actors do look way older.
Yeah.
To what they look like, but like no, they're 1 year apart.
Okay.
I think the movie, Mark is 27
Okay.
and Dave is 28.
Oh.
Because in the 84
Okay.
Olympics, they were 23, 24 respectively.
Gotcha.
I looked it up. But no, yeah, they're their performance being these characters and these wrestlers, I thought was like incredible.
Yeah, no, it was weird, like, because these are all comedic actors.
Well, Mark Ruffalo has been in a lot of serious.
Yeah,
films.
but he's also the Hulk in the MCU.
That's more recent.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Like if you've seen some movies beforehand, he's a serious actor.
Yeah, but
he's a
he's-
Zodiac killer.
yeah, but
didn't see that.
he's
I
also
know.
done like a lot of comedic movies.
And at the same time, like I have seen him in serious movies, and it's never really impressed me like this. Like this is
Yeah.
another level.
No,
Like- These are all serious comedic
Comedy
actors in the serious movie, and I think it worked really well. Like I could not see Steve Carell like in this role before this movie. I only saw him as Michael Scott, 40-year-old version or something.
I think for me, for Channing Tatum again, like I've seen him in 21 Jump Street, like those comedies,
Yeah.
and like he's usually a comedy or like a love interest in like a romance movie.
Yeah.
But like yeah, like he's like he's like you can see like the way he like moves, the way he acts, the way like his just like there's certain scenes where he just like when he
Yeah.
looks at people, like you're like, oh, I don't want to fuck with this guy.
Yeah.
Like I'd be scared of him if I saw him in the streets or whatever.
Oh, 100%. And that's totally the intention of his performance in this movie. He has this like intensity that even if you just look at him, like without even seeing what he's actually, how he like acts in the movie, you can tell that he has this like almost like rage bubbling under the surface, you know?
Like you could tell that he's not like 100% okay. Not in like in a mentally ill way, just that like he definitely like he shouldn't be left alone for a long period of
I
time.
would say the opposite. I thought he had depression throughout the movie.
Oh yeah. Like,
Yeah.
I meant more mentally ill when we'll talk about like John
Depression
DuPont.
is mentally ill.
Yeah.
But,
Different
like,
kinds of mentally ill, but
yeah,
still
yeah.
mentally ill.
Yeah.
like Channing Tatum's character, where his brother is literally always in his life.
Mm-hmm.
Where like he's always checking up on him. He's always like, hey, how you doing? How are you? Or whatever. Because like I feel like if you left him alone, like I'm not saying he can like do some crazy ass shit, but like he definitely needs someone with him all
Yeah,
the time
no,
to check in
yeah.
on him.
I realized that his character had depression because my brother has depression, and I saw a lot of the things that my brother does in Channing Tatum's character.
He's also a Greco-Roman wrestler.
yeah, no,
Beefy
but
boy.
I kind of found myself relating with Mark Ruffalo a bit. Like I go into my brother's room every once in a while and check up on him. Like, how you doing? You good? Like,
Yeah.
that's basically how Mark Ruffalo is to Channing Tatum.
And the relationship is like interesting because it's not even a normal relationship. Where like yeah he'll say that, but then immediately like they'll just wrestle instead of like talk.
Yeah.
He just be like, hey, want to wrestle? And like then they just kind of wrestle. There's times where like they argue, and instead of like forgiving or asking sorry, they'll just start wrestling.
Yeah.
Kind of like go through their emotions.
Yeah. Because I think Dave's has realized at this point that his brother Mark isn't really going to respond to.
He's not a
Like,
verbal guy.
Yeah, he's not. He's a very physical kind of guy. So maybe he's like, oh, I can get through to him through wrestling.
Yeah.
It's kind of one of the things where like, oh, like when you kind of like do those kind of things, like that's when you kind of open up the most if you think about it. Like
Yeah.
you kind of know someone how they fight and how they move and how their like body moves. You're like, oh, you can kind of like understand each other. And obviously they're brothers. They've been together
Yeah. Well, there's that
their whole
early
lives.
fight scene where they're kind of going and Dave's almost like coaching Mark as he's fighting him. He's like telling him to open up his hips and all that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like I think like busts Mark's nose. Not Mark's,
Oh,
Dave's
Dave's
nose.
nose. Yeah.
And he just like whatever. And he's like keep going back in.
He walks it off.
He walks it off and then beats him.
Yeah, and then he beats his grown brother. And the movie also shows that like his brother Dave is definitely I think the better of the two.
Yeah.
He's the better brother, like skill wise.
Oh yeah.
They're because they both won gold medals in real life as well in '84, but they wrestle different weight levels, so they weren't competing against each other. Mark weighs more than him, so they never would compete. So there never would be a chance with like who was better, or even then like it's only one person represents like
The country.
yeah. Anyways, but like so them like kind of winning together. There's never like a real chance where you can actually compete against each other in that kind of facet. But like throughout the movie, you're like you could tell Mark is obviously the most hung up about that fact of like his brother versus him,
He lives in his brother's shadow.
and then like obviously Dave doesn't feel that at all.
Mm-hmm.
Like he like the way he sees wrestling and where Mark sees wrestling is completely different. I think like Dave has a life, he has a family already, he has kids, his wife, and he's obviously very happy, and Mark has nothing.
Yeah.
He just has wrestling,
Mm-hmm.
and that's all. And that's kind of like how Steve Carell's character John DuPont kind of like comes in, where he recruits Mark to like, hey, like why don't you like come here, train here, represent America. He's super patriotic, that guy, and we kind of avoided it for a little bit. Yeah, Steve Carell was like a very interesting choice because again he's more probably the most comedic, and obviously from The Office and stuff like that. Yeah, and his character is the complete opposite.
Yeah. But I was making
We have
this
a difference
point.
of opinions. I think,
Yeah, I was
somewhat.
making this point earlier to Omar, and I know he's gonna hate it, but like he doesn't look like Steve Carell. You know, the hair and makeup team had an excellent job, and he looks like a totally different person. But I can totally hear Steve Carell, and specifically I can hear Michael Scott. Like, there's a lot of similarities between the characters. Obviously, there's differences in like their position and how much power they have and how much wealth they have. But there's like, it's like John DuPont is the worst version possible of Michael Scott from The Office. Like, he has the same insecurities and the same desires. It's a lot of very similar stuff, and it's kind of eerie in that way.
Terrible social cues.
But maybe that's where the director got the idea to get Steve Carell. Like, he was like, "Oh, this character's a lot like this guy, and he just needs to ratchet it up a bit." And
Imagine being told that. A lot like John DuPont, can you be him? I would be like, I'd never talk to me again.
well, no, it'd be like,
Yeah.
no. He'd be like, "Oh, this Michael Scott character reminds me a lot of what I want John DuPont to be like."
both Michael Scott and John DuPont were both like unhinged people.
Yeah.
So
He just wants him to turn the dial a little bit
just
more.
a bit more.
One of the actual reasons why Miller got Steve, because we'll talk about that in sports actually, why he picked him. But yeah, like his character, like he doesn't look human half the time. Like his skin is very like gray.
He has no
Like,
eyebrows.
you don't see. Yeah, he's like his face looks kind of weird.
Mhm.
He like you don't see in the beginning. Like halfway in, you can see his teeth are like weird.
Yeah.
Like I think he has like I don't know what you would call it, like his gums are like I think bigger than because like there are times when he talks and like his lip goes all the way up and you can like see a gum a lot of his times.
Yeah.
But his teeth look like black some of the time. And I'm like, that doesn't look. He looks like like the Penguin. Like he could play that character could be the Penguin in a Batman movie.
Oh,
honestly.
yeah.
I can see that.
Like, he kind of looks like he could be the Penguin. Like now I ain't talking about like the Batman. I'm talking about like the George Clooney, not the George Clooney.
no, he seems like a
the
penguin
Michael Keaton
character.
one.
Yeah.
Like he looks like that version. Of it.
Yeah.
He's kind of chubby. He's got a short stature.
He has no expression when he talks.
Yeah, he's very
That was weird.
plain and
It looks like he's trying to express
yeah.
a lot of the times. Where
And
like
then when he sits down, he's like all laid back and shit.
Like, he's like
his,
super reclined.
His hands are like towards the middle like this.
like no neck.
In
Yeah.
general, his hands are kind of free. Like there's a scene where he's like running around and like his hands are kind of like dangling and like jumping around. Like he's a very weird like. You got a lot of weird mannerisms.
Like,
Like,
as he's, like,
Hey, I
looking-
run like that. What are you trying to say?
you run and just, you know, like
Jazz hands.
Yeah, keeping your arms together is so much work.
what?
Yeah.
You don't know how to run.
I
Listen.
don't know how to run.
Listen,
That's not how you run at all.
you and me are gonna go do a training clinic. We're gonna become Greco-Roman wrestlers. Okay.
You're gonna ask Mark Ruffalo how you did it.
Okay,
I
Mr. Mark.
don't want to dry hump people.
But I think, like, yeah, with John DuPont's character, where like you kind of slowly see, you don't immediately see kind of like how not okay he is and how strange this guy is, unless you kind of like in the beginning, like the way he talks to Mark, it seems like someone who doesn't know how to talk to people. Where like kind of the way he asks questions is like I think halfway in their first conversation, he finally asks him, "Do you know who I am?"
Yeah.
Like you would think he would have said that in the beginning, like I'm John DuPont. And Mark obviously didn't give a shit. He didn't even ask him anyway.
Yeah.
He didn't even ask like, "Who are you?" He literally was like, they called him. So he said, "Can you come over
Yeah.
to Pennsylvania?" And then he just said, "Yeah." Like he didn't even ask. He didn't even know who he was. He just went with it.
But part of me thinks it might be like the arrogance he has. It's almost like the rich guy attitude. Who's like, you should know who
John.
I
Not
am.
talking about Mark.
Yeah, no,
I was like,
not
well,
Mark.
I don't think he's
No,
rich.
John. Where he's
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
you should know who I am, and if you don't ask, like, I'll tell you eventually. But like, that's not.
Yeah,
the
he's definitely
point.
like a pompous,
Like,
arrogant, big head.
he wants to lead the conversation where he wants it to go. It doesn't matter what Mark really wants to happen.
You know, from the beginning, I thought he was just that like rich kid that never grew up, still bratty and all that. Still wants his mommy's attention.
Yeah,
Of a room just of all the awards. They're not his, really.
yeah.
He like
Yeah.
acts like they're his. So like he's like pretending like he's the one who did it. But I think like really much the big three is mostly just those guys. Like everyone else is like actor wise, there's not many like I think like the wife is like I think she's an actor and other stuff too. But like those are really kind of like the main focus.
Yeah.
Like those three characters.
There was something I kind of quickly wanted to touch on. I wanted to highlight how much this movie uses silence to its effect. There's a lot of really quiet moments. I mean, I was so stunned by the opening and how quiet it was, and it kind of shows a lot of the way that Mark feels and the way his life is. But at the same time, like, I just kept thinking, like, what's going on? Like, it's just background noise. It's just silence. So much so that when the first bit of music showed up, I actually wrote it down music doesn't actually show up in the movie until like 20 minutes into it, and it was very noticeable. And then it would cut in and out of like in ebbs and flows, but there were a lot of scenes where it was just dead silent, and it was really weird, but it also heightens the emotion and the intensity of those scenes.
Yeah, like I think I don't know if we would call it sound design. I feel like there's natural sound.
Yeah.
Where like there's a scene with a helicopter where there's like they talk next to a helicopter and you literally can't hear them.
Yeah.
Because it just sounds like the real like what a real life helicopter conversation would be like. Where like you literally can't hear shit. I had subtitles, so I heard them.
Yeah.
But like I don't know if you don't have subtitles, like I don't know if you can even hear.
I had to turn
if
them
they
off.
even have them.
I had to turn them on.
Yeah, there's a lot of scenes where not even like in normal situations where like you couldn't really hear the characters talking because there was
They're
like
far away.
either they were mumbling or like whispering, or there was a crowd going on, or they're far away. Like there's just
They're
a lot
walking
of
into the shot.
I can't
and, like you can barely hear them, and then they get louder as they walk in closer and closer, like a real life kind of.
yeah. So I can't imagine like what it would have been like to watch this in the theater without subtitles. I'd be so confused a lot of the time. Like, what's going on? What are they saying?
Well, to be fair, there are well, not all conversations. Some of the conversations like matter, but some of the other ones are kind of generic, like "Hey, what's up? How are you doing?" or like kind of simple stuff.
Yeah.
But there are like nice moments, especially with like the in between match talks, where like you can hear Dave like talk to his brother, and some of like the way he motivates him, the way he kind of says stuff to him is like. I'm glad I saw the subtitles because I wrote some of the stuff he wrote.
Yeah.
And they're not even crazy. Like literally, one of them was like, "Oh, the towel is not in the Olympics. You are." Like when he's like fanning him with the towel, saying like you're in, like you have to like fucking like you're here, dude. Like this is you're in the match, like don't lose.
Yeah.
Because he's trying to hype him up. Because like it kind of a normal match is like a 3-round thing, where like you take breaks after like if you lose a point or time passes and you have to like you sit down and you kind of like what boxing does, like you kind of give them like water, massage their muscles to get them loose or whatever.
Yeah, no, there was a scene where Mark loses a round and Dave goes up to him. He's like, "It's best 2 out of 3.
Yeah, like kind of like keep him in or whatever.
You can still win this."
Yeah.
And then like fucking man, like, I'm just so like I love those wrestling scenes because like they feel like it just feels real, you know.
Yeah,
that's always nice when you like see sports movies and you can say like this feels real. Like sometimes when you see sports movies, you're just like, okay, that's just like fake people or like real people, like real actual athletes, and just cut and then randomly be like you'll show their face for like 2 seconds and then they're like, oh, it's the actor for like 2 seconds.
I think the absence of sound kind of adds to that, where like you don't feel like you're watching a movie, you actually feel like you're watching someone's
Like a
life.
thing.
Yeah,
I think that kind of goes to like this guy like directs like documentaries.
Mm-hmm.
So like a lot of his movies are like based off real life things, and they kind of he makes it feel real because that's what he does normally.
Those are biopics.
Yeah. Like Moneyball is a lot like that too.
Mm-hmm.
With like there's not a lot of music in the background. He also gets like actors, like he got Chris Pratt in Moneyball. And that was like before Chris Pratt was like big. And he got him to be like a serious actor. Like not super serious, but like he's not like a funny guy really.
He was known for Parks and Rec back then.
Yeah, so like and he got Chris Pratt to do it. So like he's kind of already like he gets like these actors to like be like he gets like the best out of them, I feel a lot of the times.
Mm-hmm.
You're making a face on purpose. What are you making? That face?
No, sorry.
He just made a face like looking at me like I'm stupid. Like,
No, sorry.
It's like,
was
oh my,
I was
you-
like,
your opinions suck.
I was
Omar.
just zoning
you're
out.
wrong.
Yeah.
But I think we could probably jump to spoilers
Yeah.
before we. I obviously recommend. I'm the one who recommended it. I 100% recommend this movie. But again, it is long. It's like 2 hours something, and I don't know. I think I liked it. I don't think everyone will like it, obviously.
Yeah.
It was definitely a good movie. It's
But I think
a
it's a good
slow
movie.
burn. But
Yeah.
it's really good.
It's a good movie, and I think anyone who has any sort of interest in like athleticism or athlete stories would get a great kick out of this. But obviously, this wouldn't appeal to a lot of people. I mean, it didn't do well in the box office, particularly because of that. But definitely, like if there's someone in your life that you think would be super interested in seeing a character, like I really see a lot of stuff. My younger brother like is the only one in our family who wanted to pursue athletics, and I see not everything that Channing Tatum's character has, but I see some of the intensity and the focus he puts in the dedication that Mark puts in this movie in my younger brother Diego. So I think he would really like this movie. And
So we both see our little brothers in Channing Tatum.
yeah, I guess so. Omar, where's your little brother?
Me.
Mini Omar.
I think like a benchmark for us would be like, would your girlfriend watch this movie?
No, mine
Because
wouldn't.
like she's like the most normal out of like anyone.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably know.
I don't think she would. No.
Yeah, I can't imagine she would watching this. Especially like actually she'd be like she'd probably quit halfway.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, I think genuinely like, or like even if you like movies, if you like Moneyball, like there's no reason why you wouldn't like this.
Yeah.
Because like you don't have to know wrestling. I didn't know anything. I don't know nothing about baseball, but I enjoyed and I understood Moneyball enough where I got the plot.
But I think you don't have to know wrestling, but I think you have to be at least open to.
Wanted to learn about it.
Yeah.
Not even like
Like,
you want to learn about, but you're okay. Like this movie is a lot.
Somebody who's
of
like
wrestling.
somebody who's like, man, wrestling's lame and kind of homoerotic.
Yeah.
Like I don't think they'll be down for this movie.
Maybe that'll awaken them. They're like, whoa, this is cool.
Maybe. Actually, I forget what the movie's called. But there's a movie with Paul Giamatti that I saw years ago about like Greco-Roman wrestling, about this like high school coach. And it's like kind of weird, like contrasting the two movies, because that one's kind of like serious, but kind of comedic. There's like a scene where this like protege is like does this crazy move that everyone doesn't know what it is. And they're like, oh, what do you call that one? And he's like, oh, well, when they bring me down, I imagine it's like somebody trying to drown me underwater. So I just do whatever the fuck it takes to get out of it.
Did he do John DuPont's ball twister?
No. It's just some weird technique. And then the coach, Paul Giamatti, goes, all right, we're calling it whatever the fuck it takes. All right, guys, let's do it. And like that's that movie. And this is totally not that at all.
This is like, I don't think I laughed.
No,
No.
not at all.
Like there's one scene that like I chuckled, but I don't think it was supposed to be funny anyways.
What was that?
The weigh-in scene at the end.
Yeah, I don't think it's supposed to be funny.
I know, but I did laugh though. But yeah, this is like 100% all serious. No comedy. If you're expecting like a classic Channing Tatum movie, no.
Yeah.
Mark Ruffalo movie, no. Steve Carell movie, no.
This isn't Magic Mike.
This is 100% all serious. Like almost no joke. Moneyball is at least funny. Like there are funny bits, but not even a comedic way, like in a surreal way.
Yeah.
There's no like.
None of that.
Yeah, like this is, a lot of it's uncomfortable to be honest.
Yeah.
Like, it gives you that, which is what the movie's trying to do. And I think we'll just hop into what did Alex say?
Are we going about recommending?
Yeah.
I wouldn't recommend it.
No?
No.
Nani?
No, I feel like you really need to have like at least wanting to know about wrestling to enjoy this movie. If we didn't have to do it for this podcast, I probably would never have seen this.
Have you heard of this movie?
I have heard of it. Never would have seen, because I have friends that wrestle. I had one of my coworkers who was giving me tips about working out. He said he heard about the movie. He hasn't seen it, but he's heard about it. So I probably
can have a conversation with him.
I probably would have heard it from somebody. So unless it's like my two friends that wrestle, I probably wouldn't like recommend it to someone else.
Oh
Yeah.
Have you heard about this, Sam?
No,
Beforehand?
never. I had no idea this movie even existed.
Yeah, like to be honest, I don't even remember how I just remember I think I just saw it in the store and I was like, I'm in.
Steve Carell, yes.
Yeah, well,
Give me a good comedy.
This is the thing with a lot of movies. Like a lot of stuff just blows right by me, and I don't really notice it until like years later, or like someone has to tell me about it, or I have to find it randomly playing on TV once. Like I'm not really looking out for movies. I don't pay attention to what's coming out. So
I also, to be fair, this came out 2014.
that's true.
So like you guys were freshmen.
I was a little baby boy.
We were.
And like again, this wasn't a big release anyway, so
Strangely enough, though, I'm pretty sure that's the age where I saw that other wrestling movie. So now I gotta figure out. Now I gotta figure out what year that was in. I'm gonna figure that out off the podcast.
2014 was the year of wrestling, apparently.
Could you imagine?
that'd be so goofy.
Like if there was 2 different wrestling movies in the theaters.
Critically acclaimed. But I guess we'll just hop into spoilers
Yeah,
right
dude.
now. So get out of here if you don't know the movie.
All
Shoot.
right.
So now we're in. So I'll ask the obvious question. I think you might have alluded to John Dumont's psyche.
John DuPont.
So what did I say, John Dumont?
Yeah.
Sorry. Did you know what was gonna happen at the end?
No.
Did you have an inkling?
No. This movie was not heading in that direction. I thought it was heading to where Mark and John were gonna like, because obviously like they had a friendship, it didn't work out, and I felt like it was working towards, oh, they're gonna like say sorry to each other and be friends again. Nope, that's not where it went at all.
To explain what happened real quick before Sam's gonna say his bit. At the end of the movie, and this really did happen. John DuPont went up to Dave and
Mark's
shot
brother.
him dead. He shot him 3 times in his like house, and then drove away. and that really did happen. And he was convicted for like 30 years in prison, and he did die at the
Dead in
2010.
prison.
Yeah, he did die at 72, I think. But Sam has an interesting story about what happened there.
So I think I have ADD or something.
You're just
Because like there are a lot of times where certain movies, it takes a really good movie to kind of capture me entirely. So sometimes I'll like kind of look at my phone and like if I'm curious about something, I'll Google it while I'm watching the movie.
I don't understand how you could do that.
I don't know. Like literally, I was doing something on my computer at the very beginning of this movie too. But it was like halfway through, and I was like, oh, like well, I wonder what this John DuPont is like rich for. Like, what arms company does he own or something like I wanted to know that. So I googled John DuPont, went to his wiki page, and the first summary was like convicted for the murder of Dave Shultz, and I was like, oh, well, I guess that's gonna happen, I guess. So it was just, it kind of deflated it, but at the same time, it was like, I wanted to know, like, oh, something bad's going to happen very soon. I want to know what point it is.
You want to know what leads up to the murder.
Yeah, like, I wanted to see the breaking point. And honestly, I think the interesting thing that, what's the director's name again? Miller?
Bennett Miller.
Bella Miller. The interesting thing Miller does is, like, he paints it as, like, everything is DuPont's fault. Like, not even just, like, the murder, but I'm saying, like, everything is something that he does to himself, you know, or that his mother ends up doing to him. Like, he obviously has a lot of issues with his mom, and he wants acceptance from his mother. And she kind of almost sets him up to fail by, like, paying people to be his friend. But I feel like that carries over into his adulthood because there's that wrestling tournament that he hosts that he himself funds, that he's participating in. He ends up winning. And then turns out all the people that he beat up getting paid. Like,
Yep.
he's never winning anything on his own.
He did the same thing his mom did to him.
Yeah.
He's paying these people to lose to him.
Yeah, and it's just the reason the schism between him and Mark come up is because he, you know, introduces drugs to him and he tries to force this wedge into his life that, oh, I'm your father figure and I'm gonna.
You don't
be
need
the
your
one.
brother.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like he ultimately is the reason everything happened. And it wasn't because he wanted it to go that way. It just, he got in his own way, I guess, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, he like there's a scene like midway in where he's like, I want Dave. He tells it to Mark.
That's like-
because they kind of accept that Dave's not gonna come anymore.
Yeah.
And he's like, I want Dave. He's like, we can't. And you just like even right before he slaps him, there's just like a silence, for like a couple seconds, and I felt so uncomfortable. So I'm like, oh, what the fuck's this guy gonna fucking do?
Yeah.
And he just slaps the shit out of him. And he's like, I'm gonna go get Dave. He's like, oh, you ungrateful. He fucking does amazing,
Yeah.
like shits on him. And he's like, I'm gonna go get Dave. I don't give a fuck. Yeah. I'm genuinely interested how he got him.
I think he just gave him an offer he couldn't refuse. in
So
terms of
much money.
Yeah, because he was like, because they tried to recruit him earlier in the movie. He's like, I have a family. I can't leave.
Yeah.
And like Mark is like gets upset obviously because his whole life is like me and we're brothers. We do it together. And he's like, I can't leave.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I have a family, which kind of like goes with like, well, Mark is just all wrestling. He has nothing else in his life. That's how John can easily like scoop him up.
Yeah.
And the whole like baiting him with the whole like America, like Mark is so like alone, and he believes he's alone in everything because the way people treat him, not in a bad way, no one like shows that they know who he is. Like at the beginning of the movie is literally him going to like a fucking like kindergarten or elementary school, talking about like him being an Olympic, and obviously this quick kid. If it's not like what's his fucking name, Michael Phelps, like, was like probably the most famous Olympic I know because he's like in fucking all the serials all the time. Like I can't name you another Olympian. And that's not like these characters or Michael Phelps.
Yeah, I guess you're right. I mean, I'm trying. Like now, I'm
Sean
actually
White,
trying.
the winter Olympics.
Didn't what was that bicycle dude that recently got his medals taken away or whatever?
I don't think that's Olympics though.
Was that not?
That's like the Tour de France.
Oh yeah, that's what that was.
It's like Neil Armstrong or something like that.
Yeah. So yeah, in general, there's like three major athletes, I guess.
And that's all because like they broke like a million records. I think. Like
Yeah.
Michael Phelps did at least.
I think
don't
it's
know
like
Shaun White.
I think it's like every generation. Like Shaun White was like early 2000s. Michael Phelps was like mid 2010s, and now it's like that Simone Biles girl.
Yeah, her.
There's only ever really
That's
one.
like one
Every
in
10
one
years.
sport.
Yeah.
Like how many of those? There's so many sports in Olympics.
Yeah.
So like a normal person would, especially kids, are not gonna fucking know
Yeah.
any Olympians. And he's like, oh, they just think he doesn't respect them. And that's the whole John is like, you're a hero.
Yeah,
You're American.
sports.
He's like, yeah, go. He's like, go sports. And he's trying to
Go America.
like tricks him, but not tricks him, but like kind of like takes him in, like, hey man, join me. We're gonna make him. I almost said something I don't want to say, but Like, yeah, he convinced him like, to be like, all pride, America, pride, and shit. And you can easily tell he's already brainwashed.
Yeah.
Like, pretty quickly, especially when John finally meets Dave,
Mm-hmm.
where he meets his family, and obviously Dave is like with his family, and
He's
like,
like, no, it's family day today. You're not supposed to be.
well, that's
here."
later. But, like,
Yeah.
I'm talking about like when he's in that hotel room,
Ah,
and
Yeah.
then like he like John like looks at him, he's like, I'm leaving now. Like he just leaves.
Yeah.
And then obviously you can tell Mark is just upset.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you couldn't stand up and say hi to his wife. She's like, I did. And he's like, no, you stood there, and he just yells at her.
Yeah.
And that's what I was mentioning earlier, where like they are like he gets an argument, he leaves, and then Dave goes out there instead of like talking about it, they just immediately start talking about wrestling.
Yeah.
It was like, hey, do the arm thing, you do this, and they wrestled in the hallway.
Yeah.
I think also that scene like shows like Mark had to watch the tapes, and Dave didn't. I don't even notice that.
Yeah.
Like David wasn't watching the tape, but he already
just
knew
knew.
the answer because he was explaining to Mark immediately afterwards.
Yeah.
So you kind of could see also the talent level of
he's the better
Dave and Mark.
athlete.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dave is a natural. Mark is he needs to be training hard to be
Yep.
at Dave's level, and Dave doesn't have to. I'm not saying he's a fucking slouch. Like, obviously he's trained.
Yeah.
But like he's definitely the more talented of the two.
Mm-hmm. Really quickly, I wanted to write down something. So I know I compared John DuPont's character to Michael Scott, but there is a Michael Scott ass line in this movie, which is hang on, I wrote it down. It was most of my friends call me Eagle or Golden Eagle. That is 1,000% a Michael Scott line.
I heard that, and I was like, "You have no friends. No one says that to you.
Yeah,
There's no way."
I mean, don't you agree, Alex?
Yeah. Really
There are certain things his character says that are just like weird as hell.
Yeah,
I remember there's a point where he's like talking about the horse. He's like, "Oh, I don't fancy horse flesh." He's talking
yeah.
about horses, and I'm like, I've never heard anyone say horse flesh.
Horse flesh.
When did this come out? 2014.
2014.
Okay, yeah, that's past the Office this time. I thought it.
No, yeah,
Because
definitely.
if it was during the Office, there would definitely be like a joke like that.
What
in
if,
there.
what if he left the office for
For this?
Foxcatcher?
I would do it.
No, he left around season 7. That would be 2012, somewhere around there.
I couldn't even tell you when the year
It's
started.
somewhere
It's
around
just,
there. It's before 2014.
But like, yeah, that character is like,
He's
Like-
Michael Scott.
yeah, I guess. But that scene as well, where like he like fakes wrestled some of those kids,
Yeah,
and then like he quote unquote beats. Honestly, doesn't beat them.
yeah,
And they cheer him, and he kind of can start seeing that like that's what he wants to be, the wrestler.
yeah.
Like he's the one that wants to do all that. There's like a scene like post Mark doing cocaine, where he like wakes him up in the middle of the night and makes him wrestle
Yeah.
with him, and like
Yeah.
it's alluded to as like it's like he's like molesting him.
Yep.
But they're in that scene, and like the real life Mark, he's in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
He's in the weigh-in scene.
Ah,
Like he's there for like 2 seconds,
okay.
and but he's the one who's bashed the movie the most. Is him.
Okay.
Because of that scene.
But it's one of those things where the thing he bashes the most is his relationship with John
Okay.
DuPont. It's one of those things where like, who can say that who's right or wrong? Because obviously John is he's dead and no one's gonna fucking ask him anyways.
Yeah.
He's in the insane asylums and in prison. Then it's Mark. So like, I'm not saying Mark is lying, but if that is true, and Mark's uncomfortable with it, he can easily say that's not true.
Yeah.
And you can't deny him.
Yeah.
And if it did happen, or if it didn't happen, and he's showing, then he's like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah.
Because when he said that, he was like, when he saw that scene, he said like, "Oh, like you're like this is a terrible movie. Yours is the worst."
Yeah.
And then like a couple weeks after, he rescinded. He's like, "Oh, I'm sorry. I said I hate the movie. I love the movie. It's an incredible movie. Wrestling, like it's a great wrestling movie. Blah blah blah." So like that kind of happened with Mark, where like he was the one who like bashed on it the most, but then obviously immediately rescinded it,
Mm-hmm.
like post him saying all that shit.
What I read was that like that scene where it kind of looks like he's being molested by John. Apparently, like it wasn't true. John never did anything like that. They didn't have a relationship like that. Apparently,
That's what Mark says. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
he
what
said,
Mark
like,
says.
They're not. I think
Yeah.
like they're not a bromance.
yeah, and he hated that scene specifically because it made it tested with audiences that it made it think that they were actually like
A thing.
a thing. Yeah, and he's like, well, that's not true. So what I read is that he said, if you guys don't make a press tour and correct this, then I will.
Yeah, I remember you said that.
Yeah. I don't know. I could tell that there was something off in that scene.
Yeah.
For sure. But at the same time, I don't know. It just looks like normal Greco-Roman wrestling
I
to me.
don't know. I did Google there because like Sam said that he Googled shit throughout the movie. I did Google was were John and Mark together
Yeah.
because that scene did kind of feel like that.
Because it reminds me of that scene where John's mom comes into the wrestling gymnasium to go see her son how he's coaching, and she's kind of like uncomfortable, but she's there. And the moment she leaves is when like that dude ends up mounting John. Like they're like practicing an escape scenario or whatever. And then like he's like gets down on the ground and the guy gets on top of him, and then she's getting more visibly upset and disgusted by it. And I'm just like, yeah, I mean, if you have an issue with, if you think wrestling is a lowly sport, I feel like maybe she also thought like there was maybe some homophobia tied in there. Maybe she's like, it's just dudes grabbing each other. It's kind of weird.
Most likely.
I didn't see it that way. I saw it more in the like she's seeing her son on the ground on purpose, and I imagine she's very like posh. She's like, oh, my son should never be
on the ground
like that, like purposely sprawled on the floor.
Yeah,
like I think maybe that's what I saw it because that's the scene where he's on the floor like belly down, like everything down. So she's like, ugh, like how dare my son like willingly want to like be on the floor, kind of that kind of thing. That's how I saw it as. But again, Greco-Roman wrestling is like there's no point in denying like it's a lot of physical man on man grappling each other kind of action.
Yeah,
you get sweaty and oily and shit. We're like, obviously, like in a non-professional, we can see it as very like homoerotic.
Yeah,
but if you want to say like a lot of sports, not a lot of sports, but like sports are sometimes like that though. And like, you have to be physical with each other during the movie because I've already seen it twice. Watching Dave again, it made me so sad.
Why?
Because it's like I know what's happening and now I'm understanding. Because when I watched it, I didn't know anything was going on. I didn't know what happened. So now I'm like, this guy's a great human being. He's a great dad. Obviously, his kids love him. And he cares about his family and his brother.
Then he said when he's like, "I'll work for you, but you got to pay my brother too."
My brother.
Yep.
And like you can tell, like he's definitely like he's loved and loves everyone in his life.
Mm-hmm.
He uprooted his family kind of for his brother, and then at the end of it, he gets shot dead in front of his wife.
Yeah.
And that's like one of the worst fates you could probably have. Getting killed in front of your family.
It was a very intense last 10 minutes of the movie.
Yeah.
That scene is very like a lot of the movie, as Sam brought up, were like it's very unsettling and it builds up to like something is gonna happen. There's a lot of scenes where you're just like either Mark's gonna do something or John's gonna do something.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of scenes where they're just kind of quiet, just pure like boiling rage for Mark, and then John is just like emptiness in him.
But there's just like the first time you notice something's off is when they get back from the Olympics, the '88 Olympics. And like the security details changed, and it's like, oh, okay, this is kind of weird. Like maybe something's happening here, and then no, and then there's the scene where John is watching the VHS tape that they made to kind of highlight and show how much of a great coach he was, and then I'm like, oh, maybe this is it, and then it is what leads to it. But I thought it was gonna quickly jump to that. I didn't think they were gonna slowly kind of build to it even more. Like,
I still thought at that point that he was gonna go like make up with Mark. Like I'm like, this has to be leading to this, and then he goes up to when he showed up at Dave's house. I'm like, okay, he's gonna ask where Mark lives. He's gonna be like, I want to track down Mark, and then pulled out the gun. I'm like, oh no.
I wonder if that's an actual quote, like if that's what he said before he shot.
Do you have a
Dave.
problem with me?
I can believe it because again, he's not obviously okay.
Yeah,
so like he probably genuinely was asking that, and then he just didn't care.
Yeah, and there were 2 witnesses there that could probably
at minimum the
that.
guy.
Yeah,
because the wife didn't come out till way later, like a little bit later after he got shot.
Yeah,
because she didn't know
his chauffeur.
Yeah, the chauffeur guy.
Mm-hmm. Who also had a gun, mind you.
Yeah, he had a gun, but like I think he meant it for like just in case, like defense, not to also obviously attack. Because he didn't know.
But I'm saying like he could have done something.
Well, he's not gonna kill like him. I mean that's also murder.
That's murder on him.
He would also get arrested. So.
Yeah.
Hey man, 2 murders equal a non-murder. You know what I mean?
I don't know about that one.
I think that checks out.
But yeah, this movie is 100% not a happy ending either.
There was a part at the beginning where I kind of noticed that John was a little unhinged when he bought the tank and he's like, "Where's the gun? I want the gun."
Like jumping on the tank.
Yeah.
He slaps the board. He's like, "I want the tank."
Yeah, and then if it wasn't gonna go the way that like he goes and makes up with Mark, I thought he was gonna get on the tank and like do a little shooting on it.
Drive around.
Yeah, because what was the point of the tank being there then?
Yeah, I have no idea.
Yeah.
But yeah, this movie, like the acting, all that shit's like the build up to it. I thought it was great, but I hope you don't mind me segueing into my classic segment. What's that? Stats and facts.
What's that? Stats and facts.
A lot of it's gonna be about like kind of real life stuff. But some of the I mentioned earlier were like why Steve Carell was casted. Is that the people in his life, John DuPont, they didn't think he could kill someone. they didn't think he was like able to actually murder. So he was like, I want to get someone who also you would look at you like, I can't imagine this man killing someone. And I can't imagine Steve Carell being like a psycho murderer.
No.
It's not this. I think that kind of works.
Well, because he plays Michael Scott, you just see him as a lovable dumbass.
He's been in other movies. I don't want you to feel.
Yeah, I know.
We know that as well.
But in 40-year-old Virgin, he kind of plays the same character.
You mean The Office 40-year-old version, right?
Yeah.
Everything's The Office and then whatever movie.
Yeah.
Just playing the same character.
Yeah, he's not someone that would go around killing people.
Yeah, like he wanted Steve Carell to like not joke around during the movie, like not to talk to the people. Like they wanted people like he wanted him to be like 100% in character, to be like not him method actor, but like him kind of being like people are not supposed to like you, supposed to be uncomfortable with you, and he obviously got that. Because you can tell a lot of people are very uncomfortable with John, except for like actually Dave. He sees like he's like grabs, he's like, oh you're because his mom died, John's mom.
Yeah.
Like during one of the things, which is actually wrong, that didn't happen. Like he like grabs like, oh, are you okay? Like I feel like no one would ever even touch John.
Yeah.
Like, he's like the first one I think I've seen that actually touches John genuinely. That's not like him actually fake wrestling or whatever.
Yeah.
But like he grabs his shoulder, he's like, oh, I thought he was gonna look at him like a freak or whatever. Like he's like, what the fuck? He's kind of just like, oh, I'm fine. He keeps asking him,
what is touch?
oh yeah, I think like
What is this strange
the way
thing?
every time I think about Dave, I'm like, fuck man, you can't believe fuck had to die like that.
Yeah.
But didn't from what I read, I don't know if this is gonna impede into your stats and facts, but when Dave died, they obviously disbanded. A lot of people left Team Foxcatcher, and little known fact, Kurt Angle was
I
part
have
of it.
a whole bit about that. You can say it.
As far as I know, Kurt Angle was part of Team Foxcatcher when that happened. He had just joined or something like that, and then he ended up joining. It was like the Dave Shultz wrestling team or something like that. They named the team after Dave Shultz in memoriam to him.
So that was gonna be a little later because I was gonna go chronologically in order, but I'll talk about that now if you want. So Kurt Angle, me and Sam know him because he's a professional wrestler in WWE,
that?
TNA, and what?
Who that?
Kurt, he's a wrestler. He's a WWE wrestler.
What,
One of my favorite wrestlers.
does he have like a nickname?
Kurt Angle.
No, like a nickname. Like you know how like Scott Steiner's like
Wrestling
the
machine,
genetic
the
freak.
wrestling machine?
Yeah, the wrestling machine.
Yeah,
Kurt Angle. Yeah.
The Olympian, the gold medalist, like
Yeah.
kinda like that.
I guess he doesn't have
But
much.
yeah, but we know him from wrestling. But yeah, he's in a real life Olympic wrestler. He was part of Foxcatcher, and I don't know if you know this, but the way the movie shot, and I was gonna bring it up later, where like he wasn't killed when Mark left. He was killed in 1996.
Oh,
So it was like
years later.
like 8 years later.
Yeah,
Okay.
From that when Mark left left the Team Foxcatcher. So that was like when that happened, and he died 6 months before the Olympics.
Okay.
So and he was arrested and all of that. So like John DuPont's not there anymore. Obviously during Foxcatcher, and they did change the name to Mark. And Kurt Angle won the 1996 Olympics for his weight class
With a broken freaking neck.
which is he broke his neck during the open trials. And they like before every match they injected like fucking 12 shots of like Novocaine in his fucking neck, which kind of led to him getting addicted to painkillers, which is what did happen later in his life. He got addicted to that shit. But like I watched that his match. I watched the whole thing. I said the whole thing. I watched the last round, and I watched everything that happened afterwards, and I almost cried because it's like one, obviously it's real life, like it was like overtime, fucking 8 minutes of just all wrestling, and he won barely by a judge decision. It wasn't even like he barely won. He didn't know he won until they raised his hand. And like his dad died before, like when he was 16.
Yeah.
So like his dad died. Dave died. Dave trained him, so he's close with Dave, and so like he's like, oh, like I when he cried, like he cried and like prayed, and he was like, oh, it's for my dad and for David. He won this obviously for America and his mom and all that, but like when I saw that, you could see like his raw emotions, like. I got me tear-eyed. I'm like, I thought of thinking of Dave again, and I'm like, that's terrible.
Yeah.
Like, cause like imagine how many other people that are just like Kurt who probably also impacted and like helped in life, and is like, and then fucking John just shot him.
Yeah.
Because he's fucking a terrible person. Well, I'll talk about a little bit more about like why, but like yeah, that Kurt Angle, he wasn't like consulted for this movie or anything, but he did watch it. He said he loved it, but he said there were some scenes, and I'll talk about it later, where like there are some dramatic like scenes that are more dramatic than they actually were, and obviously some inconsistencies that happened. I don't know if you noticed during the movie, Dave, there's sometimes he has like writing on his hand
Yeah.
or his arm.
Yeah.
It says PU kids.
Yeah.
Is to pick up kids to remind himself. And when he died, he had that on his forehead. so he can remember to pick up his kids, because like not he has bad memory like fucking disease. He's just that like he was coaching that team and also like coaching like high school college shit too as well at the same time, and obviously taking care of his kids.
Okay.
But like I thought that was like just depressing as fuck.
I thought he was just like getting old and losing his, because he also had Mark's number on his hand.
Yeah, he wrote a lot of stuff on his body.
I thought he was just losing his memory a
I think
bit.
it's like a kind of regular.
I mean, they're also wrestlers, so like concussions and all that. I thought Mark had a concussion throughout the first half of the movie because he's just so quiet. That I'm like, oh wait, no, he has depression.
Yeah.
No, yeah, like I think it's like a regular guy stuff. Like sometimes like, people write their shit on their hands or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm glad it kind of reminded me. I don't know, remember that scene where he's like in this room and he has like a breakdown after he lost that match.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
When he broke that mirror,
Yeah.
he wasn't supposed to do that.
Oh,
he just
really?
did that naturally.
Yeah,
like, that wasn't part of the script.
yeah,
He just smashed the fucking mirror and he actually generally cut his fucking forehead.
That's
Yeah,
what-
I could tell that there was like real shards of glass in his head, and I was like,
And then like when Dave slaps the shit out of him,
Mhm.
he popped his eardrum.
oh,
He slapped him because they were so exhausted.
Mhm.
He would chant. He was like, just go,
just hit
hit me
me.
fucking hard as you can. And
Yeah.
just get it done. And he just slapped the fucking shit.
It's another
out of him.
scene that reminded me of me and my brother.
Jeez.
Yeah, a lot of this stuff like these two were like dead, like exhausted because there's just a lot of physical training they had to do.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But I'm kind of slowly building this up. The way John DuPont, like his mental illness, was downplayed.
Hmm.
In real life, he was way worse.
Really?
He like, holy shit. So I'll cut some of the stuff, but Alex brought up earlier the whole college thing.
Uh-huh.
I'll explain that a little bit more. So he donated millions of dollars to Villanova University, which is around Pennsylvania, which is where the college is, to start a wrestling program. And they were like, "Oh, you can be the coach then." Well, he was fired because a male student accused him of sexual assault.
Oh.
And then like that, and I'll explain a little bit more what the inconsistencies of the movie with that episode. But even that, like he thought he saw spirits walking around the Foxcatcher place,
What the fuck?
Disney characters, and walking trees in the fucking like
What
yards.
the hell?
So he also rode the horses, and he had an accident where like they had to fucking remove his like testicles.
Nice.
The horses?
Yeah,
I hate that horse. Take its balls.
and like he was known to be a loner and always alone.
Yeah.
And all that shit happened before, like the whole wrestling thing.
Yeah.
Him getting marked.
Yeah, that seems crazier than the movie made him out to
the
be.
stuff what he did with his wife and stuff too. Like not that he did stuff, like he like thought she was gonna kidnap him and like put a gun to her head and thought she was like a terrorist and a communist and shit. Like he just thought that shit was real.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously his wife left him, that's why he's alone.
Yeah.
But like he's like fucking insane.
Mm.
And then with the whole like when he killed David, like he thought he was like in his walls. He thought David was in his house, in his tunnels, fucking with him.
Oh.
Like he genuinely thought that was like that he was really just fucking with him the whole time.
And that's why you said you got a problem with me.
Yeah.
And then like he ended up hating the color black because he thought it was the death. This is crazy. He got rid of all the black horses, all black cars, and every African American that wrestled for him. He fired all of those people because he was just scared of the color black because it meant death.
Is that what the scene with him letting out the horses was about?
No, I think that was just like a metaphor.
Oh,
Yeah.
Like a different kind of metaphor or whatever. And then Mark, after the whole John thing went to prison and shit, John hired a private investigator and he went to Mark's house.
Mm-hmm.
And the private investigator asked Shultz, Mark, to help him escape prison. So Mark got a camera, recorded him saying that, and then closed his door. And showed it to obviously the government, like the police.
Yeah.
This is what he tried to do.
Yeah.
Obviously increasing his time in,
oh my
in
god.
prison and shit.
Jesus.
Like John DuPont is very much was not okay in the head mentally, and that's kind of kind of see with some of the stuff he does in the movie, and obviously the real life stuff is even crazier. The inconsistencies, surprisingly good amount more than I thought it was gonna be. They mentioned earlier in the movie like Schultz's parents were divorced, the brothers,
Yeah.
but even though they were divorced, they still like stayed together to raise them.
Okay.
So they weren't like alone. It wasn't like
Mhm.
it was just them. Like their parents did raise them. And the real reason why John DuPont called Mark wasn't to do the whole Foxcatcher shit. It was to him to be an assistant coach to the Villanova wrestling program,
Oh.
so he can be part of it. So basically, like use him to help him out and shit. And he never met him until way later. Like the movie seemed like in springtime he met him. He met him like in like August.
Okay.
And he never went to the place, like the Foxcatcher place, until like September.
Okay.
Also, it wasn't called Foxcatcher, that place.
Oh.
It was called Lister Farm.
Okay.
And it wasn't changed until his mom died.
Okay.
Then he changed it to Foxcatcher. And obviously his mom, I mentioned it earlier, like his mom didn't die during the Olympic trials.
Yeah.
She died like after, like 8 weeks after that happened. So that never happened. None of that shit. Or
Okay.
whatever. Mark didn't live in that house. The house that he gave him, that didn't happen.
Okay.
That's where John lived. John lived there. Mark lived like in a fucking like an apartment miles away from that place.
Oh.
That was closer to the college that he was assistant being coached for.
Yeah.
And then fucking, well, you can imagine John, he called Mark like on Christmas Day and fired him.
Huh.
Of the job.
Huh.
And then kind of after that, he ended up moving into that house in a small room by himself to start training for obviously the Olympics because he was still the contract to do that. Oh, not contract, but like that was the plan no matter what. But like, yeah, he lived in like in a small ass room. He didn't live alone. He lived like in a he called like basically a closet.
Huh.
Like, he had a shitty condition. He didn't have great conditions, like living conditions.
Yeah.
We made it seem like he had like fucking living like Larry. Nah, he was like kind of lived like a iffy house style or whatever. Technically, Mark and Dave never trained and lived together with Foxcatcher. Dave was hired at the time the movie tells you, but Dave never showed up until like 89.
Okay. And
Mark already left. So he left. I mean, he did leave after the Olympics.
They were never at the place together.
Yeah, they never lived or worked or trained together at the Foxcatcher place.
Okay.
The reason why John DuPont kind of like what also led up to that murder as well was that he kind of stopped caring about wrestling. So like in 95, he told the U.S. wrestling people that he's going to stop giving them money. Like in the movie, he told he's going to pay them every year. He told them he's going to stop after 96, which was the Olympics.
Yeah.
So obviously Dave found out. So he told John, like, hey, because we're closing, I'm going to go work with Stanford and do their wrestling program.
Yeah.
And that kind of probably also led to him started like thinking fucking Dave is in like fucking with him and shit.
Yeah.
So that kind of also built up the whole him trying to like end up murdering him.
Okay.
And kind of like the movie kind of ends in an interesting way with the whole UFC fight.
Yeah.
So what happened was, so I don't know, during the movie they show a UFC fight.
Yeah.
That didn't happen during that time. That match happened like in 95. And that scene is shot in 87.
Okay.
So that was like UFC like 7.
Mark went on to become a UFC fighter after.
And yeah, so obviously that scene didn't happen. And then Mark did really become a UFC fighter. And ironically enough, the dude in the movie, they don't say who he actually fought. They made up a dude.
There's like some Russian dude, yeah.
But in real life, the guy they were watching, that guy who won that UFC fight match, he fought him.
Oh, okay.
Mark and him fought in that match that he actually fought. Mark won.
Okay.
I don't know why they didn't. I wonder. I was really interested in why they didn't show
The fight.
yeah, or at least to say Mark won. Or
well,
whatever.
probably it was just like that wasn't the point. It was just
Yeah.
to show that he ended up doing that.
Yeah, but Mark ended up doing it. And then like now I think he lives like.
I would have liked them to show a scene where he found out about Dave.
Yeah, I think that would have been like very like.
A good way to end it.
Honestly, that would also just be so depressing.
It would
Yeah.
be, but
You probably end up actually seeing this guy break down even more,
Mm-hmm.
and kind of seeing like someone like him kind of break like that. It'd just be kind of like it's just sad at that point.
Yeah.
So I think maybe that's why as well. Like where it's already like a sad.
Like you already know what he's gonna act like, or how you can imagine what it would be like. So maybe it's not as interesting to show that, or it's like not as necessary. And you're like more, let's show after, like years after. What he's
I was
up
also
to.
kind of expecting this to end kind of like Unbreakable with a freeze frame and then text.
Oh, freeze
Yeah,
frame.
I couldn't. I was like, why do I feel like this is happening? Like this is gonna happen again, isn't it?
Would it be funny if like they showed everyone like you know how they kind of like show the actor moving for like 2 seconds, then they freeze frame it. So they'll show like Mark doing UFC, John like killing Dave, Dave's dead body. Like Dave is still dead.
I want to make an edit of this movie where at the very end when John goes, "Oh, is it snowing outside?" and then the guy goes, "No," and he goes, "Start my car," and then the guy leaves. It freeze frames. It goes, "John DuPont later shot Dave that day," and then it like cuts to a picture of Mark, and it's like Mark ended up fighting the UFC. Like, I want to make shitty edits of movies.
It would be funnier if it was like, "Oh, I'll get my car," and then it's like. John died in a driving accident. the car flipped over. The shit fucking blew up.
Yeah.
I just remembered that. So when he killed Mark, he went to his mansion and like locked himself in there.
Okay.
And it took 48 hours to get him.
Also, he wasn't just running around his estate like in the movie.
No, he like locked himself in like a fucking vault room that was used for
Okay.
like doomsday
Yeah,
shit.
that makes a lot
And he
more
had like
sense.
a million guns there. So like if they walked in, he could just kill them all.
That makes a lot more sense.
So what they did was like they fucking like removed like his heat and shit of his house. So he did go through those tunnels. Well, that was the plan, was to go through the tunnels to turn the heater back on and then go back in.
Yeah.
The second he walked out, they
tackled him, yeah.
or whatever. And the people who tackled him are the police who keep coming to his house to like shoot and shit.
Oh yeah.
Those are the same people.
Yeah, that makes
Like
sense.
they don't really say it in the movie, but like the same police force that he like
was
helps
training
or
with
whatever.
and all that.
They like the ones who
Yeah.
took him down. I thought that one scene where he shoots was interesting.
Oh,
All
he's
the
like
cops are
one.
professional.
Yeah.
And there's him just like one hand, like fucking like he thinks like a cowboy or something.
Yeah, lazily shooting. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
Overall, yeah.
Yeah, I think the movie like one of the counter complaints. I'm not sure what you think, or like there's not enough of John DuPont's mental stuff. Or like you don't get 100% how his mental.
I don't think
like,
you could ever capture how crazy someone
Yeah,
is.
probably-
on
obviously,
film.
yeah, like-
But I think it's just enough where it's like you can see where this.
you
is
understand
going.
how that
Yeah.
why he would lead to him shooting.
Yeah, it's not like imagine if this movie ended with like Dave shooting John. You'd be like, "What?
Yeah.
Excuse me?"
That would make no sense. Or like fucking Mark shooting his brother.
Yeah.
You'd be like, what? Like that doesn't make any sense.
I mean, there's also like things you can't show. Like you said, he was like seeing Disney characters and
yeah,
walking around.
I was
Yeah,
against you show that shit.
you can't
earlier.
show that because A, Disney copyright, and two, how are you gonna Disney
First
seeing
person John
ghosts?
vision,
You know how-
John
you know how,
DuPont
like,
mode.
crazy that'd be if you just saw like Mickey Mouse walking down the field, like in this movie,
It'd be like,
and no one like thought it,
what?
like no one brought it up ever again. You'd be like, what the fuck?
You clearly have never played Kingdom Hearts.
He's the one who
There we
fucking
go.
caught him, dude. Maybe that was like his last
All
will.
right.
Yeah,
I think we should start wrapping this up, guys.
we should.
I love this movie.
Yeah.
I genuinely love this movie a lot.
It's a good
Oh.
movie. And,
So next movie's anybody, right?
actually, I think it's me because
Is it?
Swiss Army Man was you.
Okay.
Foxcatcher's Omar. So now it's
Okay.
another only me movie.
Let's go Sam movie.
Let's do it.
Let's
Spin that
the
wheel.
Whoosh, 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 whoosh. I'm scared. I genuinely don't know.
Boondock Saints.
Boondock Saints.
Hey,
Oh,
I think
I've seen
Okay.
this movie.
I just bought that on DVD
I
actually.
want to see some Willem Dafoe.
I saw this movie like I think a year ago or whatever.
Nice.
And this one was like cult classic
Yeah,
kind of movies that people like love.
I've heard it's good. I want to see it.
I think Willem Dafoe's probably the biggest name actor in that movie, honestly.
Isn't Norman Reedus also
Yeah,
in
he's
that
like
one?
the other guy. And
Nice.
I don't know who the other guy's name is, to be
Nice.
honest. But
We'll see you guys next time.
Later.
bye.
Now available to own on DVD and video.